Okay, so this is part 2 of the gearbox design, and first things first, I'm in my folder where I've got our gearbox, our drivetrain, and we don't have a robot file yet, so we're going to create that right now. And a robot file is our naming convention, and there's our robot. So the key thing with this is we're going to bring that drivetrain in. So I'll just wait for a moment. And the only thing that should be in this robot file is one assembly, and that's going to be the complete robot. So I'm going to insert and other documents. And there's the drivetrain. So I'm going to insert that. And I'm going to create a version right now. We had a version before. We'll see if anybody's made any changes, but the benefit of the versioning system is that we can bring in the drivetrain, and if somebody has makes a change to it and stuff, we are using this version, and so we don't make any changes until we upgrade the version. So that is in position. We're good to go. I am going to fix the very first piece in here in position, so everything's locked in place. So there we go. We're ready to go. Now, our gearbox, what we need to do is we need to create an assembly to begin with. And this will be our completed gearbox. Right now we only have the gearbox in there because we're going to figure out the mounting. So I'm just going to insert that. So there's the plate. And we'll just fix that in place, and we will be designing our gearbox based around this. So actually I'm just going to unfix, and what I'm looking at is the bottom. Let's turn to the right. And so what we'll do is we are actually going to rotate this, and rotate it 90 degrees. And then let's rotate it this way, 90 degrees. Not 45, 90. And there we go. So everything's positioned. That's great. And we'll just fix it in place there. So we're going to add our full gearbox to this, but what we'll do is we'll just create a version. I'll make the first version of the plate. We're going to create this, and there we go. So what we will do is we'll go back to here, and now we can insert that document. And there's our gearbox, and we're going to insert the assembly. So there's our gearbox. And what we'll do here is we are going to fasten this. And so we're going to pick this circle right there. And we're going to fasten it to that circle right there. And there we go. So there's our gearbox. It's mounted there. And now we need to make some changes because we need to figure out how to mount this to here. So there's a couple different options, and let's just go over the options. The first thing is that we're going to right click, and we are going to edit in context, and that will bring us back into our other document, but we can see where everything is. And so let's go into our sketch plate. And the bonus is that we can just go in here and we can choose to use the circles that are already built right into this bearing block. And we'll pick the top. And so we are going to use those circles. Now, I'm a little concerned because these circles will probably interfere with the motor. So we're going to need another set of circles. So I'm just going to create a line, and this line is going to be 4 inches. And the only reason I'm picking 4 inches is we've done this in other parts, and that way I can be consistent. I can use the same thing on something else. So the midpoint is going to get the midpoint there. And this looks good, so I'm going to add a circle right here. And this is my 13/64 for number 1032. And I'll add another one right there. And these are going to be equals. Now the problem is we obviously are going to not fit. I need these to be part of it, so I'm just going to offset these by 1/4 of an inch. 1/4 of an inch is a nice thick amount of material to make sure that everything's going to fit. Oops. Yeah. I'm going to move over to the side and click it. So there's 1/4 of an inch over there. There's 1/4 of an inch over here. And what I'm going to do is my same idea of just some lines here to connect these things. So L will turn on the line, L turns off the line, so it's quick and easy to do this. So I can click, and I'm going to click there, and then remember T for tangent. So now I can make the line and the circle tangent to each other, and this line and this circle tangent to each other. And that can lock things in. And because they're tangent, they're going to be pleasing to the eye. So just adding lines over here, same thing. Now, obviously, I'm going to have a little bit of oops. So those lines will be tangent with each other. I'm going to have some cleanup to do in here, so let's just get that done. So again, my trim tool, very handy, so I can cut these extra lines out so that solid or Onshape will be able to easily figure out, okay, what is a hole and what is not a hole. So if I didn't do that and I extruded it, I'd get a weird funky thing going on. And I might just show you. So if I just save this right now, you can see with the extrude, it works okay over here. Not working terribly well over here. I do have to fix that up, and that's the funky thing that I was talking about. So let's go back in here. And I just realized is I've added these circles, but I didn't offset them, so I'll need to fix that up while I'm at it. And again, there's my line tool to connect these things. And I'll want to so now to make everything tangent, by making everything tangent, it's just going to smoothly flow into each other. And again, I'm just going to trim out all of this unnecessary stuff so that Onshape doesn't go, wait, do you want to hold here? Do you, like this little stuff here would just make a mess of it. And I'll probably break, so some of my things are going to break now because they're relying on measurements for other things that I've just cut out. So I will need to adjust some of these things. And the biggest thing is you get a handle, you get an idea of how to do it when you got to remember everything needs to have a starting and ending point. It's got to know where it's positioned in space. And as long as you do that, you can set dimensions to control these things and get things positioned where you want them. So a bit of work to deselect these things, but I find it, if you're methodical with it, it works well, just one thing at a time. If you make a mistake, you want to do it. But it makes it so much easier because the extruding is just seamless then, and you're not searching for why is this little piece, sliver sticking out and stuff. You can quickly identify those things and fix them. And I think I'm pretty close to done. So there's only a few blue spots there. And these blue spots are basically endpoints and radius and stuff like that. So just setting some dimensions for them can lock them in place, which is what you want. And once they're locked in place, everything is fully constrained. And there is my gear plate, and I can create a version here. And now in my main robot, you can see it's updated, so my new version is there. And what I can do is I can now go into this piece. And what I can do is I can just create a sketch on here. And where I have these holes, oops, undo. So right click and select other, that's going to make it much easier. And I'm looking for the edge so that I get the right part. Just takes a little bit of time. I got a few things running in the background which are just bogging down my computer. But for and use those. And I should see. Okay, I've obviously, those were not what I had in mind, so I somehow picked the wrong thing there. Let's see if I can select. Okay, that one worked, and that one, yeah, I selected the wrong thing, so I'll just, those are just two-dimensional lines, so it really shouldn't matter if I delete them or not, so that should be good. Okay, so now that I've got my sketch in place, what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude and remove, and it's going to be through all. And sketch one, through all, second end position, change that to through all as well. And now I've got my holes where I need them. I would obviously one thing that I would do is go back into the sketch, and I'm just going to mirror these things so that way I've got the holes. If I decided to change which one I'm going to use, I've got all 4 holes there. That's much better. Not sure why this one's not showing up. There we go. So that makes a world of difference. And again, let's go into the sketch, because maybe I want to change the gearbox and put it right in the middle. So let's use those. And we'll use this circle. And we will use it, but what we will do is we will make sure that we are selecting, making that a construction line so that we're not, it doesn't really matter because we're carving a hole where it is, but I can now create another line, set that line to be 4 inches, set it to be midpoint on that point, and again, two circles, equal sign, to set the size based on these other circles. And this is really key. I'm not going to use this, but if I decide to revamp this robot next year and move the gearbox plate, I have that flexibility. I can move the gearbox plate to any of those three positions now, and the holes are all set up ready to go. So I'm going to create a version, and that brings me back to my main robot, and you can see my updated side rails are in there. I can see the holes, everything lines up beautifully, and I'm all set to be able to start building this gearbox. And this plate will be the inner plate. We'll have the gears right there, then we'll have the outer plate, and my goal is to have a motor here, and on this one the motor over here, and the reason is so that I've got spacing to be able to mount things. It's got some ideas that I think are going to work quite well. So that's how to design the gearbox plate, and there's more to it, but that's for another video.